Alrighty, guys. I hope you guys can hear me. Let me see if I can access the comment section. I wish there was a way I could test my my microphone. Oops, nope. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. Let me know in the comments. I want to do like a real quick check here. I want to know if you guys can hear me. Let me see here. Let me know in the comments. There should be a chat box you guys can access that will allow you to comment if you guys can hear me. I believe that, what is this? Oh, I think this is it. Built-in microphone. Okay, I think that looks good. And also, hold on. Can you let me know if you can see my chat messages? All right. If you guys can see my chat messages, please let me know. Give me a thumbs up in the chat box. This is really my first time, not my first time, but this is my, I would say, second or third time doing YouTube. I usually do Zoom, so because I know where all the buttons are, it's a lot easier to kind of troubleshoot if there's any issues with the microphone or the camera. But, you know, since I'm doing this whole thing streaming, I need to know or get some feedback from you guys on whether or not whether or not you can see me and whether or not you guys can hear me. I want to switch over to my keyboard. I think that looks good. And then I'm going to switch back. What is this? Oh, this is the chat box here. Let me just see if I, oh, it's the same button. All right, so for those of you guys who are here, please let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me. Give me a thumbs up or give me some feedback, because I want to make sure that I can talk to you guys and that you guys can, you know, hear me the whole time as opposed to me talking to myself. So give me a thumbs up or give me a response in the chat box to let me know if you guys can hear me at the very least. Let me see. Can you guys hear me? Let me put that in the chat box to see if you guys can. If you guys can't hear me, then, you know, I'll just put it in the chat box, see if you guys can hear me. But I want some feedback because I will likely not move forward unless someone says, hey, yes, I can hear you. No, I can't hear you. So on and so forth. All right. You guys can hear me. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. I know there's maybe like 2 of you guys in here so far. I'm anticipating some other folks to show up. And hopefully they will be coming in pretty soon. But just to give you guys an introduction, I think most of you guys know who I am. But in case you guys don't know me, my name is Ayana, and I'm an online piano instructor. I have a YouTube channel called The Musical Web, where I post content, and I also have courses on my website. And I may or may not be doing more of these types of YouTube lives where you guys will be able to interact with me, ask me questions in the chat box, and be able to go from there. So for today's lesson, this one is not going to be any longer than maybe, I'd say, 45 or so minutes long. So I'm not going to have you guys on here for too late because it is 9 o'clock here on the East Coast. So I'm not going to be here until like, 1 in the morning. And I also don't want you guys to be here too late either. So really quickly, this video is going to be focused on people who are either complete beginners, like you may have never had a single lesson in your life, or you may be the person that actually I don't think I need this. Or you may have taken lessons in the past and may not have remembered anything. So this would be a really, really good refresher. So that's one thing that my students tend to really appreciate about my teaching approach is that I take everything about piano and I basically simplify it for you guys. All right, so what I'm going to go ahead and do, and I'm going to switch over to my keyboard. So let me know if you guys can see my keyboard here. So I have this keyboard. Let me just put this here. So you guys should be able to see my keyboard, and it looks like I'm in the corner too. Okay, that's interesting. I guess that works. So I just switch over to my keyboard because I want to make sure that you guys can see between my face and the keyboard. That way I'm not teaching to just myself. And so if that is good, if you guys can see my keyboard, let me know. And depending on how well this thing goes, I may or may not do another one of these sometime before the month is out, before the holidays. But hopefully you guys can see my keyboard. If not, then let me know. So today's lesson is going to be about the basics of how to play chords. Even if you don't know the piano, I'm going to be walking you through those basics first. And then we'll be taking those basics and translating them into chords. And then we'll pretty much be going from there. And I'm going to show you how chords are used in actual songs. Super simple, super easy stuff. All right, it's 9:04. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So basically, as far as the piano goes, let me just see if I can, because this looks a little bit different than it does on Zoom. It actually looks a little bit more zoomed out. So I'm making sure that you guys can see what I'm doing here. As a matter of fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because I have to remember that you guys are seeing this from a smaller screen if you're using your phone, I want to make sure that you guys can see a little bit better in terms of what I'm doing. All right, so first thing I'm going to teach you guys, what happened there? First thing I'm going to teach you guys is how to name the keys on the keyboard. For today, we're going to be just focusing on, let me just take my face off of here. We're going to be just focusing on naming the white keys. The black keys will be for probably a different lesson. But for right now, I only have to show you guys today what the white keys are about. And everything else I'm going to show you today in terms of chords, I only have to give you guys the white keys, which makes it a lot easier for you guys to grasp. So here, if you guys don't know, that the white keys are named by alphabetical letters. So think of the letters A to G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so from there, there's a moth there. Sorry, guys. This bug has been bothering me. I think I got it. All right. So here, the first letter of the musical alphabet is going to be C, right? So C is always going to be in the same spot on the piano, which is going to be, if you look at the black keys are in groups of 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, so on and so forth. And so if you look at the piano as a whole, you may think that you have all of these letters or all of these keys that you have to memorize, when in actuality it's just the same, let's say, 7 keys that repeat themselves over and over again. So the black keys are a good reference point. So if you find any 2 black keys, the white key to the left of the 2 black keys is going to be C. So this white key, if you find 2 black keys, the white key on the left is going to be C. And then any of the other 2 black keys would be the same. So if you find these 2 black keys, right, this white key here is also going to be C. The only difference is that C is higher in tone. So the further to the right you go with the piano, the higher the tone is going to be. The further to the left you go on the piano, the lower the tones are going to be. So these 2 black keys over here are going to also have a C, but it's going to be a lower version of C. Right? Now, let's take C for example. And we will name the other white keys and use C as a reference. So after C, you go to the next key to the right. That is going to be, just like the alphabet, the letter D. After D, the next letter is going to be the letter E. And then after E, you have the next letter, which is F. And then after F, you have the letter G. So it goes C, D, E, F, G, And then after G, the next letter is going to start with the first letter of the alphabet, which is A. And then after A, you have the next letter, which is B. And all this does is this connects you to the very next C. And all that happens is just the alphabet resets itself. So you have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then C, and then it just goes again, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So the whole piano is just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. All the way up and all the way back. So that's pretty much the basics of the white keys. Now, in order to practice these, one of the ways that you can practice the names of these keys is to use C as a reference, and you can just practice naming just by picking a random key and then using C as your starting point and then counting your way up, at least in the beginning. So if I wanted to figure out, let's say, what this key is, all I have to do is just find my nearest C. So remember, 2 black keys, and if I have C over here, I just go C, D, E, F, G, and that's how I know that this is G. This is a good way to practice naming the keys, at least for the first, if you do this if you do maybe like 10 exercises or exercise naming 10 keys a day, I would say by the end of maybe a good 7-day period, you'll be pretty well versed in where the keys are to the point where you won't even need to use C as a reference. You'll kind of just know where the notes are. Now, I'm going to see if you guys have been paying attention. All right? I'm going to pick a key, and in the chat box, I want you guys to tell me what that key is by starting with C and then counting your way up. What is this key? So again, start with C and then count to the key that I am playing now, because I want to make sure that you guys are grasping what I'm telling you. So if you put in the chat box what your answer is, and I can read it from here, and I want to make sure that you guys are following me, because if not, I don't really feel comfortable moving forward until I know that you guys are understanding what it is that I'm talking to you guys about. So let me know in the chat box what you think the answer is. There may be a bit of a delay on my end as far as the chat box. So if you guys are putting in your answers, just be patient with me. But I'm going to see if you guys are going to be brave enough to say the answer. Let's see. I'm going to give this a few seconds because, again, I'm using what is this thing called? It's a streaming app that I'm using. So I'm not using YouTube directly to go live. I'm using a separate streaming app, so there may be a bit of a latency with the chat box here. But I'm going to see if you guys have been paying attention. So if you guys put your answers in the chat box in terms of what the answer is, hopefully it will pop up on my end. But other than that, all right, let me see. We got some answers coming in. Awesome. If you guys put the letter F, you are correct. And that just goes to show you how simple it is really to understand how the piano works, because again, the piano is just the same 12 keys if you include the white and the black keys. It's just the same 12 keys that repeat themselves over and over and over again. And that's pretty much as simple as piano goes. Now, what you do with the keys, that's where things get a little complicated. But if you guys do have any questions, you know, as far as what I've gone over so far, feel free to put it in the chat box and let me know. That way I'd be more than happy to answer it. So for this particular live, I don't know if I have the opportunity for you guys to come on screen, but if you do, I don't know how to do it. I may have to do that for a different live. But if you have questions, please put them in the chat box and I can see them from here. So now that you guys know how to name the keys on the keyboard, what we're going to do is we're going to start putting them into what are called chords. So what is a chord, Ayana? There are different components to a song. You have melodies, you have the bass, and you have the chords. So if I was to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star with just the melody, it would sound like this. if I were to add chords, and let's say I use my left hand, listen to how different it sounds. Right? So playing chords would sound something like this. Oops. So think of chords as groups of notes that are being played at, I would say at the same time, but for the most part at the same time, in a particular pattern. So what does that look like here? So I'm going to show you guys how to play your first 7 chords. Now, there are specifics to these chords, but because you guys are complete beginners, I'm going to just strip it down to make it super simple for you guys to understand. So I'm going to give you guys about 7 chords to practice, and we'll do just the right hand for right now. So in piano, just for reference, the thumb for the right hand is finger number 1. The index finger is finger number 2. The middle finger is finger number 3. The ring finger is finger number 4. And the pinky is finger number 5. So you may hear me refer to certain finger numbers, but just know that it's referring to finger numbers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Now, the first chord that I'm going to show you, there's a full name for it, but we'll just call it the C chord for right now. And a chord is usually a group of 3 or more notes that come together to create a particular sound, right? So in this case, I'm going to play you an example of a C chord. And what you can do is, we're going to start with C. We're going to use our thumb to play C. We're going to use our middle finger to play E. And we will use our 5th finger to play G. Right? So that is an example of a C chord. So one of the ways that you can think of a chord, or one of the easy ways to start thinking of a chord, is if you start with a key, right, like C, with C being the root, and then if we're just working with white keys for now, all I did was I skipped the key to play the next key, and I skipped another key to play the next key. And that's what I have. I have one note here, a skipped key, and a skipped key, and that can give me a chord. So that's one chord that you can think of. Now let's play another chord. All we're going to do is we're going to take each of our fingers and we're going to slide each finger up 1 key. So watch this. Bang. All I did was move my thumb to D. My middle finger is now on F. And my pinky is now on A. And I now have what is called a D chord. Now, we're going to do the same exact thing. So all we're doing is we're just moving up in a scale-like fashion. So we're going to take each finger and we're going to move each finger over 1 key. That brings our thumb to E, our middle finger to G, and our pinky to B, and that gives us an E chord. We're going to move up again. We're going to take our hands over and slide up another key. Our thumb is now going to be on F. Our 3rd finger is going to now be on A. And our pinky is now going to be on C. We're going to move up again to our 5th chord here. Our thumb is going to be playing G. Our 3rd finger, our middle finger, is going to play B, and our pinky is going to play D. We're going to move up again, so there's going to be 2 more chords I'm going to show you for now. This one, we're going to move up another key. That's going to bring our thumb to A, our middle finger to C, and our pinky to E. Then we will move up 1 more time, and we're going to move our thumb to B. That's going to give us a B chord. our middle finger to D, and our pinky goes to F, and that gives us a B chord. And by the way, if we were to move up one more time, that would just give us back to the C chord. So the first chord, we're going back to the beginning, and we're going to practice this again. The C chord, C, E, G. The D chord is D, F, A. We're moving up again to the E chord, E, G, B. We're sliding up again to the F chord, F, A, C. We're moving up again to the G chord, G, B, D. Then we move up again to the A chord, A, C, E. And then we're moving up to this chord, which is the B chord, B, D, and F. And then if you were to move up one chord, that would just bring you back to the C chord, C, E, and G. So it's just a repeat of the first chord that you played in the beginning. So one thing that you can do is, as you're practicing your chords, you can just use your right hand and use your thumb, your middle finger, and your pinky to play each of these chords and just work your way up. So that is one way to practice starting to play your chords, or at least the beginning of the chords. And if you wanted to practice with your left hand, all you have to do is just take your pinky. I can just show you. So you can just start with your pinky at the bottom on C, right? Your middle finger on E as usual, and your thumb is going to be at the top on G. So if you wanted to practice these chords with your left hand, it would just be pinky at the bottom, middle finger in the middle, and thumb at the top. It would just be the same exact chords. G chord, A chord, B chord, C chord, so on and so forth. So that is one way that you can practice your chords. You can start with the right hand, get it a few times, start with your left hand, or you can work on your left hand, and that can get you in the door as far as chords go. Before I move on to the next part, let me know in the chat box. I see a thumbs up. Thank you so much. And if you guys are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, make sure that you guys subscribe, turn on the notifications bar, and to make sure that you stay updated. And this is one thing I haven't done, but if you guys want to, I'm going to put because I know that sometimes YouTubers like to do the whole super chat thing. I don't have super chat enabled yet, but if you want to support, I'm going to put the Cash App in the chat box. If you guys want to support the channel, I'm going to be probably doing some more of these YouTubes later on. So again, if you want to just send a Cash App here and there, if I'm doing a good job, please let me know. And if you guys have any questions, again, if there's anything that you want me to review or go over, or you just give more clarification on, feel free to put it in the chat box. Even if I don't see it until after I go over a session, I'm always going to be checking the chat box to see if you guys are still with me or if you guys need help with anything specific, because that's just my job as a teacher. So I'm going to go ahead, and I see there's 2 thumbs up. Thank you guys. And make sure that you press the like button, because apparently if you have a certain number of likes, so let's say if there's a certain number of people in here, I think there's 7 people in here. If you do like 3, or if I get like 3 or more likes or 4 or more likes, it helps get this video shown to more people. So that's just the way I'm going to experiment with that, and that's another way that you guys can support and push more views to this live once it's done. Now, for those who will miss the live, it will be unfortunate for them, but you guys will find out why later on. All right, so now we have learned our first 7 chords, right? So we learned about the C chord, the D chord, E chord, F chord, G chord, A chord, B chord, so on and so forth. So now the next thing is, what do we do with these chords when it comes to applying them to actual songs? This is where a concept called chord progressions come in. Some of you may have heard of chord progressions. Some of you are like, what in the world is a chord progression, Ayana? So a chord progression, all a chord progression is a series of chords that take place in a song, right? So for example, if I was to play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, right? Ba 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 ba. So all the chords that I just played, one after the other, right? That's a chord progression. So it's just basically identifying what chords are being played and in what order, right? So if I was to do Mary Had a Little Lamb, the jazz version, Mary, let me just do it with my right hand. So that chord progression I did, ba 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 ba. I added some black keys in there to make it sound fancy, but the point is still the same. The series of chords that I just played, that is an example of a chord progression. So most songs have a series of chords that take place in that particular song. That is a chord progression. So the thing about chord progressions is, think of it as a roadmap to what is happening in a song. This is how musicians are able to follow each other pretty easily. Like if you hear musicians in a live concert, even if they're having a jam session, we usually are able to figure out what where we're going in a song if we know the chord progression, right? So what does that look like? There are different ways that we approach chord progressions, but the easiest one that most everyday musicians use is what's called the number system. So if I was in the key of C, like the examples I just showed you are in the key of C, right? If we are in the key of C, then the chords that I've shown you earlier in the lesson are given a specific number. So if we're in the key of C, right, then the C chord would be chord number 1. And there's a reason I'm giving you guys these chord numbers, so it's all going to make sense in a second. But if C is chord number 1, then D is chord number 2. E is chord number 3. So it's pretty straightforward. F is chord number 4. G is chord number 5. A is chord number 6. B is chord number 7. And then if we're back to the C chord, it just goes back to chord number 1. So it just goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1. So by assigning these chords numbers, we're able to use those numbers to figure out what chords are happening in a song. And this is one of the things that helps us differentiate one genre from another, right? I mean, there's different things that make a genre different than a different genre. So, one genre may use a different rhythm pattern than another genre, or one genre may use a different set of instruments than another genre. But one of the things that makes each genre of music separate is the chord progressions that they use. Because in each genre, whether you may know it or not, and I'll give you some examples, there are go-to chord progressions that are used very, very often in those particular genres. One of the easiest genres to learn to understand this concept is pop music, thus the term popular music. And so, have you ever had that thought where most pop music sounds the same, but you can't really figure out why they sound the same? The reason why I'm about to tell you is because most pop songs use the same chord progressions. What does that mean? There are two types of chord progressions that are used very often, and I'm going to give you one of them. For pop music, one of the most common chord progressions used are the numbers 6, 4, 1, 5. So I'm going to say it again. 6, 4, 1, 5. So what does that mean? In most cases, or in a lot of pop songs, they use the chord progression 6, 4, 1, 5. That means they start with chord number 6, then chord number 4, then chord number 1, and chord number 5. And then they repeat the same chord progression. 6, 4, 1, 5. So what are some examples of songs that use this chord progression? It may sound familiar already, but let's go through some examples of what I'm talking about. How many of you guys have heard this song, Poker Face by Lady Gaga? Depending on the generation that you're a part of, you may or may not have heard it, but I will sing it for you. Poker face. Poker face. Right? Another example is the John Legend song, All of Me. Same exact chord progressions. What would I do without your smart mouth? Drawing me in and you kicking me out. Got my head spinning, no kidding, I can't pin you down. The same exact 6, 4, 1, 5. I could give you guys some examples with regards to R&B music, but the thing about R&B music is that R&B music uses slightly richer chords than pop music, and I don't want to overwhelm you guys, but I want you guys to understand the concept of how chord progressions work, how chords work, and the basics of music and piano. Everything pretty much narrows down to all the fundamentals that I've shown you. So you have, again, chords, you have melodies, you have chord progressions, which, again, most songs, even in classical music, even in gospel music, in R&B music, jazz music, there's usually some kind of chord progression that builds that song. And that's like, the way I've shown it to you guys is pretty much the easiest way that I can explain it to you. Let me know if you guys are good to go in the chat box. Let me know if that makes sense. Or let me know if you guys need me to break that down a little bit more, because I want to make sure that you guys are on the same page with me, because I don't want to just keep talking. You guys are still stuck on lesson 2 of what I talked about, because usually chords in general tend to be a very challenging concept for people to learn, especially on the first lesson. And that's usually because most teachers will kind of just send you full throttle into like learning chords that are very, very complicated, and chords can get layered very, very quickly, because you have 3-note chords like the ones I've shown you, but then you have 4-note chords, 5-note chords, 6-note chords. Okay, perfect. People can say makes sense. Awesome. Because again, when it comes to chords, it can get very complicated very, very quickly. And my goal is to make sure that I don't lose you guys, but if you guys are saying it makes sense, I'm glad it makes sense, because one of the things I wanted to do, because I know a lot of you guys may have not seen me do a live. It's maybe your first time actually experiencing me live. So I wanted you guys to get a taste of like how my teaching style is and just my ability to break things down in like the simplest science. So if this has been helpful, I do want to bring to your attention a couple of things, and I promise I'll let you guys go in like 10-15 minutes. I'm pretty much. So most of you guys who are here, I invited you guys here because some of you guys have my starter kit course. Some of you guys don't have any of my courses. And I actually right now, especially for those of you guys who are on my live, I have a special going on in celebration of a new course that I have coming out on the 20th of December. So right now I have what was called my online piano course for beginners. That course has already been published. I actually published that course back in 2016. So again, if you're on this live, that means you don't have the beginner course because I made this live specifically for you guys. So what is the beginner course? The beginner course is basically a fully broken down version of what I just showed you. That's like that is pretty much the meat and potatoes of it. It breaks down everything from the beginning, from like naming the keys to learning your first scale to even it goes over sheet music, how to play, how to sight read music in the simplest form. It gets you up to playing both hands together. It breaks down not just the basics of chords that I just shown you, but also the theory behind different types of chords. Because I remember I said that I have a C chord, but there's different types of C chords. There's the C major triad, there's minor triads, there's seventh chords. So the course goes over all of that. That's the beginner course. That course has over 100 and so pre-recorded lessons. And the way it works is it's self-paced. So once you enroll, the content doesn't expire. So there's people who have enrolled years ago and the course is still in there. So you don't have to worry about, if I buy this course, I have to complete it after, within a certain time. It's completely self-paced. You can access it from your phone, your tablet, your laptop, whatever is convenient for you. And also it goes over how to play piano by ear as well. How to play melodies by ear, how to play chords by ear, how to play chord progressions by ear. It goes over all of that. That's just the beginner course, guys. And again, the beginner course is already published. The course that is about to be published is the intermediate level course. So intermediate level takes everything that you learned in the beginner course and takes things to the next level in terms of, okay, now that you've gotten chords, now we're going to take those chords and we're going to start creating our own arrangements with those chords. We're going to start creating our own arrangements with melodies. We're going to be talking about blues scales. We're going to talk about pentatonic scales. It's going to kind of take everything into a more free arrangement improvisation route. And also it will go over how to play more complicated rhythms. So the beginner course will give you the basics of rhythm, and then the intermediate level will give you the complicated, like syncopated rhythms that you hear in gospel music and, like I said, jazz and R&B. So those more complicated rhythms. And it also will show you how to play multiple rhythms at the same time. So like if you have one right hand or one hand playing one rhythm, another hand playing another, the intermediate course goes over all that. And as far as sight reading, by the time you get done the intermediate course, you'll be playing up to the level of like Moonlight Sonata, Fur-Elise, like those intermediate level songs. So it goes over sight reading, it goes over taking fundamentals of theory and basically allowing you to create your own sound, if that makes sense. So that intermediate course is going to be on released on the 20th of December. That is in process. So that is going to be, so I know you guys are like, okay, that sounds good. How much is it? What's the deal? So here's the thing. Each course, so the beginner course is normally, stick with me guys, the beginner course is normally by itself $197. And the intermediate course will normally, once it publishes, is going to be $197. So if you were to buy the courses separately, you're looking at close to $400. However, for those of you guys who are on live right now, and I'm only offering this to those who are on the live, you can get both, meaning you can enroll in the beginner course and pre-enroll in the intermediate course together for a one-time $147. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, hold on, beginner and intermediate course package. And what I mean by $147, guys, I'm talking about you pay $147 one time, you get both courses. All right. So you're getting both courses for less than the price of one course. I just put the link in the chat box if you want to go ahead and grab that. So what's going to happen is once you enroll, you're going to get obviously a confirmation. You're going to get instant access to the beginner course, and then once the intermediate course gets published on the 20th, that you're going to get a email basically announcing that the course has been published. What's going to happen is you're going to go to a site. You're going to create an account on my school site where you get to log in, access the beginner course. You're going to see both courses in there. So both courses will be in the same account. So you just use one login and you'll be able to go in and access, whatever course you want. So if you want to do the beginner course and intermediate course. Now, if you're like, Ayana, that sounds good. I don't know if I have it in my budget to get both courses. Do you have some kind of offer for the beginner course, at least to get started? I do. As a matter of fact, if you get that today, if you're just like, you know what, 147 is a little out of my budget, do you have something a little bit cheaper? I can give you just the beginner course for today. Let me see, beginner course and I will just give it to you for a one-time $99. So if you want to just get the beginner course for now, and then maybe just get the intermediate course later, I'm going to put the link for just the beginner course in the chat box. So while you guys are, and let me know once you guys have enrolled, that way I can welcome you officially into the course. And if you have my starter kit course, right, what's going to happen is the beginner course and or intermediate course, and or both, are going to appear in the same exact account as your starter kit course. If you use the same email, it'll all be in the same exact account for you guys to access easily. And so that was going to be, so again, let me know once you guys enroll. That way I can make sure that you guys get everything that you need in terms of confirmation emails. I mean, you guys should get that automatically, but I always like to make sure that you guys are able to log in to your accounts and make sure that you guys don't have any issues accessing all your stuff. So while you guys are working on that, just a quick recap of what we talked about today. So we talked about how to name the keys on the keyboard. And I got some late registrants here, guys. I got some people already, they're signing up for the YouTube Live, but the YouTube Live is already 40 minutes in. But anyways, so I talked about how to name the white keys on the keyboard. The black keys, they're pretty much named after the white keys. They're like the sharps and flats. You may have heard, those terms. But again, that's just that's just for maybe like another YouTube video, maybe another YouTube Live. I may go over the black keys. But today I'm keeping it simple. Now, the next thing I talked about is the basics of how to play chords, or at least to give you like a soft introduction to how chords work. So we went over the C chord all the way up to the B chord. So you've learned your first 7 chords. And also I talked about how those chords are applied to actual songs by way of what is called chord progressions. And I talked about how chord progressions are used or identified by numbers. There are other systems that people use for chord progressions, but that's for a different day. And that's for a more, I guess you could say, more advanced kind of lesson. And so, with that said, I want to make sure that you guys are getting the link here. And I think, let's see. That is pretty much what I wanted to cover for today. This, again, was more of an experiment. Because the last time I did a YouTube, or last time I did a live, it was in Zoom. So I wanted to kind of test things out on the YouTube side to see if it was easier for you guys to access. I know some of you guys don't have Zoom, but almost everyone has a YouTube. So I wanted to come on here to see if YouTube might be an option versus, let's say, Zoom, in terms of making it easier for you guys to access the free lessons, or at least the trial lessons, or like the sample lessons on here. But I won't be doing these too often because I know that doing a live can be pretty, it takes a lot of work to get into, putting the curriculum together and getting everything set up and making sure that there's no technical issues and all of that stuff. So again, We talked about the basics of going from 0 to playing chords. So hopefully I have delivered on my promise in terms of what I was going to cover for you guys today without overwhelming you at the same time. So what I want to do is, I probably should have said this a little bit earlier. If you guys have any questions with regards to what I talked about in today's lesson, or if you have any questions with regards to the course, whether it's the beginner or intermediate package, or if it's about, the beginner course, how the whole thing works, even if you're having issues with logging in, if you already have my starter kit course, if you have any problems logging in, please let me know. Or you can also hit me up. If you rather text me, the number to text is 201. I'm about to put it in the chat box. 977-6570. So if you do have like a more personal question to ask, you can shoot me a text message. I just put the number in the chat box. So 201-977-6570 if you want to reach out to me personally with regards to questions that you have about the live, with regards to piano, with regards to enrollment in the course. Let me know, and I'd be more than happy to help you. So I'm assuming, since I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box, and I'm seeing that you guys have sent me some likes, so I'm really appreciative of that. I'm assuming that everything that I've covered for you guys have made sense. And again, before you guys head out of here, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. Make sure that you share this live. It's going to go live once this thing is over. And make sure that, whoever comes back on here, make sure that they press the like button because it gets more views for the YouTube video. So, all right. So I hope that this was helpful to you guys. And if I do have another live, if I do have another Zoom or live or whatever, I will make sure to let you guys know in advance. That way you guys will have a chance to sign up and enroll. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. It is 9:46. It's late. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit me up on that number, and I would be more than happy to help you guys. All right, you take care, and I look forward to seeing you guys in a future live. See you soon.